Hey guys, and welcome to a new episode of Priceless Backstories. I'm your host, Amy Price Bromberg, and I am so glad that you're joining us today. Now, this week is a special week, with it being Valentines week, and I hope you all enjoyed the Super Bowl game last night. But with it being Valentine's week, I am super stoked that my husband, Jason, is actually joining us on the podcast today. Now, one thing that we're going to be sharing is we are going to be sharing our love story and for Love Week, and sharing how we met, as well as the dating journey for us and our relationship. And so I really hope that you enjoy just listening into the story and also listening in to some of the cool God nuggets and the things that God had shown us along the way. And so whether you're single, whether you're married, whether you're dating, regardless of what stage of life you're in, I really believe this is going to be a really fun and just really cool episode for you. So here I have my husband, Jason, and it's kind of a big deal that he's here. I don't know, Jason, has being on a podcast, is that something that's on your bucket list by any chance?
No, not really. I've never been on a podcast before, so it's a new thing for me.
Yeah, so he is such a sport for sure, and looking forward to this conversation. And we have been married Jason and I got married in 2017. And so we are 5.5 years in to marriage. And so let's just go ahead and jump right in. And Jason, I would love for you just to start off by share the story of how we met.
Well, we had kind of a very fun, interesting first meeting where it was like the last day of school for me. I'm a middle school teacher, and it was the day after the last day of school. So it was like a teacher in service day. All the students were gone. And one of my coworkers came into my classroom and just said, like, hi, and like, do you have a moment? Can I talk with you real quick? I'm like, sure, okay. And her name's Sherry. And she said, hey, I just had a question for you. Like, are you seeing anyone? Which was a really weird question coming from her because, she's married and stuff. And but she said, like, are you seeing anyone right now? And I said, like, no, I'm not. And then she's like, oh, it's not for me. Like,
Hmm.
but there's somebody who is in the Bible study that I'm in at my church, and her name is Amy Price, and she's with Athletes in Action, and she told me a little bit about what that was, and I think it'd be really cool if you could meet her, and so she shared a little bit about you, and she showed me a Facebook picture, and said,
Yeah.
like, would you be interested in calling her? And I said, sure, okay. And so I think she contacted you, and just asked if she could give your phone number to me. And then she gave me your phone number. So, anyways, later that day, I decided I was going to give you a call. It was a little bit weird because this is like a blind date. Like, I don't know who I'm calling. But I thought I'm going to go ahead and just make this phone call. So I called you up on the phone, and you picked up, and we just started talking, like in this blind phone call. And it was just a really good first conversation. Like,
Hmm.
it was fun to talk with you. It felt really natural. Um, we just had a good conversation.
Hmm.
And as we were talking, um, like, you maybe mentioned that you liked tennis. And I thought to myself, that would be a really cool first date because I like tennis. I don't play that often, I'm not that good at it, but I thought that would be a neat first date. So I asked you if you'd like to get together and play
Hmm.
some tennis with me. And you said yes. And so we set up a day when we were going to get together. and play some tennis.
Mm.
It was June 1st of 2016,
Wow. Yeah.
and we met at a particular tennis court in Fairborn, and just played some tennis together. We didn't keep track of the score, which was a really good thing because he would have beat me. I
I'm
mean, let's just be
super,
honest
yeah,
about this. You were a lot better at tennis
and
than
very competitive. I think that's
yes.
part of it.
Oh, you're
I'm a
super
person who loves to
competitive.
win. So yeah.
And so very cool of you and smart of you that you didn't say, "Hey, let's start keeping track of the score." And so that was a really great idea.
Hmm. Yeah.
So we played just for fun. We hit the ball back and forth. I remember it was a pretty hot June day
It
because
was. Yeah.
after we played tennis for a little bit, I asked you if you wanted to go get some lunch. And you said to me, yes, as long as it's someplace that has air conditioning.
Oh yeah. That's
And I
right.
said, well, how about Panera? And you're like, sure, that sounds good.
Hmm.
And so we um, went to a nearby Panera and
Mm-hmm.
then just got some food and hung out at Panera.
Hmm.
And I liked the date enough that I wanted to have lunch with you after hitting the ball around and playing some
Yeah.
tennis and so it was just a fun date. It was
Hmm.
just like hanging out with a friend who I just met, who I didn't know very much about, um, and just we played tennis and we had lunch.
Hmm.
And one of the things I really remember was that I had fun and that it was so easy to talk to you. That
Hmm.
it was just you were a great conversationalist and still are.
Hmm.
And I just kind of wanted to have a second date because I thought, I like this person. Like, it just feels really easy to talk with her. She's got a
Mm-hmm.
great personality, and I had a good time with her. I'd like to do this again. And so I think we just left, like, when the meal was over with and it was time for us to go. I think um, I maybe just said something like, "Hey, we ought to do this again sometime, or let's get together for another date sometime." And you're
Yeah.
like, "Sure, okay," or something like that. And
Yeah.
that was our first date.
Yeah, I do remember it was a lot of fun because I know, like, when I play tennis, like, I'm definitely keeping track of points and very aware of the score, and just try as a former college athlete, just even aware of like trying to better myself, even though it's not like my number one sport. But like post college, tennis is definitely like one of my favorite sports to play. And so that day I do remember there were even times that we kind of stopped like after a point or whatnot, like after a shot, and then we would like walk to the net and just have a little conversation, grab a drink of water, then like, you want to keep playing? Yeah, okay. And then we'd like walk back to our spots and do another serve. And yeah, it's really cool, I think, Jason, of the Lord, to even think back to um yeah, just God's providence in some of those moments. And even, I mean, the number of times I had had lunch at Panera with college students, like when you asked about Panera, like it's super familiar place for me. So I felt really at home even to have that conversation. And even thinking back to like yeah, even how Shirley came in the picture. You mentioned Shirley, and the fact that, you teach at a middle school, right? Where there's like only sixth grade students in that building.
Hmm.
And Shirley had a few months before that, in January, I believe, she started coming to our Bible study at Springboro Baptist. And so she was part of this group, but I had no idea that she taught with you because we hadn't met yet. So it was really cool of the Lord to even see how the timing of some of those things where she came into our circle. I had just heard about you. You didn't mention Match.com. But had heard about you through Match.com because my roommate and I, we were, like as singles, just kind of like, where do we meet like godly Christian men who are fun? Like that we actually want to like date. And we're having a hard time really meeting new guys. And we thought, why not just put ourselves out there? Like I know a lot of women, have tried online dating, and for me it was huge even just to like come across your profile and say like, wow, this guy seems really awesome. He enjoys tennis, he seems to like his family, and he's got a faith. in Christ. And so just to see how the Lord kind of hearing about you, showing up at Bible study, Shirley saying like, "Wait, I work with him." And then for her to say, "Let's wait a few weeks until the school year's almost over because he'll be more apt to want to give you a call." And so I was really grateful that you called that day. And obviously, now that we know the rest of the story up to this point, but like, just really grateful for the way that the Lord connected us
Yeah.
that day. So I'm wondering, could you share a little bit about what was your life like before you met me? So were you searching for like just really wanting to be married or searching for ways to put yourself out there? I mentioned as a single, I was like really praying that the Lord would introduce me to my husband and not sure when or who, but that was something that I was kind of walking through. But what was your life like practically as well as when it comes to relationships
Hmm.
before you met me that day?
Yeah. Lonely. I was lonely before I met you, and life was not as much fun. But I gotta let the listener know
Yeah.
that like I probably wanted to be married or at least have like somebody special in my life, like when I was in my 20s, when I was in
Hmm.
college, or at least when I was graduating from college. I wanted to be in a serious dating relationship.
Mhm.
And maybe I'm not sure that I wanted to be married when I was 23 or 24, but I
Yeah.
wanted to be dating someone and just be able to uh, just have somebody that I could put my arm around and eat with and do fun things with
Hmm.
and but I did not meet you until I was in my 40s.
Hmm.
And so I went through my 20s and my 30s just not really having any serious relationships in my life. And that was a hard thing for me. And I'm
Mhm.
sure that there are a lot of people out there, maybe some who are listening to this, who are like, I really want to have a boyfriend or I really want to have a girlfriend, and I'm praying and it's just taking forever. And
Mhm.
God, what are you doing? Like, I'm trying to do this right and
Mhm.
not just settle for anyone that smiles at me, or but I'm just trying to wait for your timing, Lord. And so I just want to say to that person or those people who are listening um, that it's hard, and just keep on praying and just be
Mm.
patient, and just trust the Lord through that. I waited a really long time, and
Mm.
it wasn't easy.
Mm.
Um, and I just remember talking to God a lot about like, Lord, when am I going to meet her? Like, I want to be married, and I'm just not meeting anybody at church or at work. Um, and it was it was a struggle,
Mm.
and it was hard just praying for something and then waiting and
Mm.
waiting. And I think everybody can relate to that. Like,
Yeah.
you just want something really badly, and you're like, Lord, can I have this? And He's
Mm.
like, nope, not right now. Like,
Yeah, not yet.
10 years from now, 20 years from now. And you just don't know if it's ever going to happen.
Mm.
Um, but for me, I remember having conversations with God. I'd go for walks. I would walk around the block. I'd go to a park and I'd walk with God, and I'd just be like, Lord, when am I going to meet her?
Mm.
And like, I'm trying to be patient and I'm not complaining, but I go to church and I see people holding hands, and I kind of wish that was me.
Mhm.
So it took a really long time, and but now I look back on it. It was just like it was hard to go through that waiting period, but
Mhm.
now I'm just so happy that I found the right person,
Hmm.
and
Yeah, you
that
did.
that God brought us both together,
Mm.
and I'm just loving being married right now. And I want to say that I think I have a greater appreciation for it, a greater I really enjoy being married. Whereas if I got married when I was 20, 21 or 22.
Hmm.
Not that there's anything wrong with that or bad about that, but I don't know that if I didn't wait all those years, I don't know if
Hmm.
I would really appreciate it as much, or
Yeah.
just like I can remember the time when I was single and how hard it was. And I think there's something about that that's made me a stronger person, that's
Hmm.
kind of built up my character so that now I think I'm more patient when it comes to other things.
Hmm.
Um, so for me, it was a character building thing, but like I'm so happy right now that I'm married. And I know there's some people that maybe will go their whole life and maybe not get married, and they might be single into their 50s and 60s because
Hmm.
of their circumstances, or there's maybe people that have been hurt. They got married when they were in their
Hmm.
20s or 30s, and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
Um, they thought it was the right person, and it turned out that it just,
Hmm.
they had some hardship and got a divorce, and maybe they don't want to ever get married again because of that. And
Yeah.
so I know everyone's got a different story,
Hmm.
and I think I just need to be
Hmm.
really appreciative of my story and
Hmm.
feel good about it. Things didn't happen on my timetable, but
Totally.
now I'm married to an awesome woman. Happy Valentine's Day, by the way. I got to say that
Thanks,
sometime
honey.
during this podcast. But I'm married to an awesome woman. I just really thank the Lord for you,
Hmm.
and it's just so much fun to do life with you. And I love being married.
Hmm.
Um, so
Yeah. Thanks, babe. Yeah, I think that's something I appreciate about you is that you are honest and that you chose to wait, and that there was something that God did in you in the waiting. And I think like, yeah, just as your wife to see how God utilized that time to really grow you as a man, and prepare you for marriage. And I don't think if we're 40 waiting for a spouse, and single at 40, that it means we're not ready or not prepared, or someone else is more prepared than us necessarily. But there's something God did that was preparing you for me. And similarly, I'll share more in a different episode of my story, but like there's something God did in me as well, to prepare me for you. And so it's kind of cool how we can sharpen each other, iron sharpens iron.
and real
Um
quick, I want to
yeah.
say that I know there were times when I thought, "What is wrong with me?"
Hmm.
That I'm 40 years old and I'm
Yeah.
not married, and I've never been married before, and like, what is going on? Like, why is God not answering this prayer, and what am I doing wrong? So there was a timing thing about that, and there was also that I was just a real homebody and I didn't put myself out there. Like Sundays I would go to church, and every day I would go to work Mondays through Fridays, but I wasn't really putting myself out there
Hmm.
and being social and trying to meet my wife.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I really asked people to pray for me that I would meet my wife, because, again, I just felt like it was
Hmm.
awkward. Like, what's wrong with me that that I'm in my
Hmm.
30s and I'm not married. You don't really want to tell people, hey, can you hook me up? Can you
Yeah.
introduce me to your friends? I mean, some people maybe it's easy to do that. For me, it wasn't.
Hmm.
It was just like I want God to hook me up with someone. I don't want to tell everyone I know I'm lonely, and can you
Yeah.
introduce me to someone?
Our dating relationship was so fun for me, right? And I do resonate with what you're saying. I think whether you're a man or a woman, like people out there, like for me as a woman, there are times that I wondered if I wasn't enough, like if I wasn't pretty enough, or if I wasn't young enough, or if I wasn't fill in the blank, right? And that is so common for women. At one point, I wondered if I was too much, like these lies that the enemy tells us. And even like, am I too intentional? Like, as a Christian woman, is it okay to be intentional with building friendships with guys? And genuinely, at the time in my 30s, my mid 30s, I really felt like that was, I'm sorry, my early 30s, I felt like that was like not okay. Going into like June 1st, like I already had a plan, right? Like I did not expect to meet you on June 1st on our first date. And so I had this 30-day sabbatical lined up in terms of like, got to be intentional to grow in my faith, do fun things, visit friends, visit family, go on trips, even go to Israel in August, a couple months later. Like I had this whole plan. And here you are wanting to get to know me. So can you share a little bit about like what that was like for you, but also some of the things that we did together in the process of me being intentional with you and vice versa in our dating relationship?
But yeah, like we had that first tennis date,
Yeah,
and I thought this is fun. I'd like to have a second date
yeah.
with you because I had a good time and I just enjoyed your personality. I liked spending time with you, and that was like a really good thing. Like I want to do this again. And so I contacted you and we got together for a second date, which, if I remember right, I think it was just taking a short walk. Um, and you lived in Xenia at the time, and I think you were super busy because you were, getting ready to go on a trip to Florida. You were
It
going to
was
drive to Florida.
it was June 3rd, my sister's birthday.
Oh,
So 2
okay.
days after our first date, I said I have 30 minutes in Xenia if you want to meet me at the bike path. I bet you remember
Hmm.
that.
Yes. And so we walked for 30 minutes in Xenia, and it was quick, but it was really nice just to
Hmm.
talk with you and walk with you. And then we got together on a third date where we went to Kroger and did some shopping. And I and I think the whole thing behind that was you were getting ready to travel and you said you were going to Kroger, and I said, "Hey, can I come with you? Can I come shop with you?" And you're like, "What? Like you wanna go shopping with me?" Like, and I was like, "Sure, like if that's all right." And you're like, "Okay." And so we met at a Kroger and we did some shopping. You were getting road trip
Hmm.
food.
You helped me pick out if I wanted Cheez-Its or Cheetos, you know, like some of the important things in life. So you learned a
Uh-huh.
lot about me that day.
Yep.
Favorite road trip snacks.
And you got some Twizzlers or some candy for the road,
Yeah,
and
Swedish fish. Yeah, those
yes.
type of things. Yeah, Twizzlers.
And so we just kind of spent some time together, at Kroger, and then you got your car wash, and then we went to like Grater's ice cream, I think. And yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to be around you because I remember I thought I don't have any time, but you just did such a great job, Jason, of like, well, what are you doing? I'll come with you. Like you integrated like what's already happening in my life because I was preparing for my trip, and you're like, I'll go with you. What else do you want to do? You know, like I think the Cavs played that night. I was like, well, you're fun to hang out with. Do you want to come over to my friend Kate's house where I live? Like, you want to come over and watch the game? And like, so you went from Kroger to going through the car wash with me to like, hey, let's get some graters. It's right by Mike's car wash
Mhm.
to, yeah, let's watch the Cavs game, in the playoffs. It was just, you did such a great job of like just entering in to my reality, and oh, it was so much fun. Heading to Destin, Florida, I remember talking with my friend Hannah to you and then meeting up with Haley. She was in Destin on a trip as well. And yeah, and so there was just this sense of like, I don't know. I felt like it was a God thing, like really to get to know you better. There's something God had already prepared me in of like I was ready, I think, to meet my husband. It's kind of hard to describe, right? Supernatural in some ways. But there was also this intentionality of even like while I was gone. What was that like for you as I went to Florida to visit
Mhm.
Hannah and then I went to DC to visit my sister to road trip
Mhm.
with her over the 4th of July. And then later went to Israel in August.
I want to get back to something that you said earlier,
Sure.
which was how you said that you felt like women are supposed to be silent, and that
Hmm.
that really it's the guy that is supposed to
Yeah.
pursue the woman, and there's some truth to that, that guys need to not be passive, but they need to be the pursuer. They need to
Hmm.
chase after. the woman that they're interested in and pursue that woman. But you felt like women should just totally do nothing. They just need to sit by the phone and wait for the guy to call. And if you're at a party, then you don't go up and talk to a guy. Like, that's a big no no. You wait for the guy to come up to you,
Mm-hmm.
and that you kind of have heard that from people. Maybe some friends have told you that, or people that have mentored you, and it really went against your personality of someone who's an activator, someone who loves to go up and meet people and connect them with other people, and you are a very social person,
Mm.
and so it kind of was rubbing against your personality. Well, here you go out of town for a couple of weeks.
Mm.
And this was right after our third date. And I mean, our relationship could have ended right there. Like, well, Amy, she's going to be out of town for a couple of weeks. I don't want to bug her. I mean, that's going to make me look like I'm desperate or something. Like, I
Mm.
don't want to call her or text her while she's in Florida. Like, we just met. And so I wasn't gonna really communicate with you for like 2 weeks. Well, and you were gone a lot that summer. So, I mean, our
Mm-hmm.
relationship could have ended after that third date. It could have
Wow.
just been like, well, this wasn't meant to be. It was fun, but you were out of town a lot that summer.
Mm-hmm.
But you like reached out to me and texted me, and like I texted back to you, but you kept in touch with me, and you were like very intentional. And I don't want to say that you were like chasing after me or you were pursuing me,
Mm-mm.
but you also weren't silent, like in a corner, like just waiting for me to always initiate the communication.
Mm.
You were sometimes initiating the communication. And for me, with my personality, where I tend to be just where I didn't want to put myself out there and initiate, all the time. That really helped me to have you text me and just say, "Hey,
Mm.
how's your day going?" or "I'm in
Yeah.
Georgia right now, and my road trip's going well so far, and just
Yeah.
wanted to see how you're doing." Like, you texted me, and then I'm like, "Oh, like
Mm.
she's initiating, like, so I can text back and it won't be weird."
Mm.
And
That's
that
really good.
really helped me to to just feel okay to text you while you were out of town, because
Mm-hmm.
you were the one that started texting me
Mm.
while you were out of town. And we were able to communicate while you were in Florida, and then while you were
Totally.
in Washington D.C. and
Mm-hmm.
um, and Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So that really helped a lot. We were able to talk a lot, like text and talk on the phone while you were out of town. And we really got to be closer
Mm.
to each other, even though it was like a long distance relationship. I wasn't able to
Mm-hmm.
like see you, but it was fun to text back and forth. I remember one night you did like a 20 questions thing where you were just like, "Hey, let's play 20 questions." And I'm like, "Okay, sure."
Mm.
And you're like, "Pepsi or Coke?" And like,
Yeah.
"Do you like winter or summer? Do
Mm.
you like turtles or frogs?" And you
Yeah.
just texted these questions, and it was just kind of like a game. It was kind of fun, which, Amy is totally all about questions and
Mm.
and games.
Totally.
But it really helped me to get to know you better. It was just
Mm.
such an awesome icebreaker, sort of.
Mm.
And stuff like that really helped me to like you more and to
Mm.
get to know you better.
Yeah. Thanks, Jace. I think as you share, it's good to go back and reflect and remember and just the value of being yourself, and in the process in our relationship with God, really guarding our heart. So I think looking back, I often questioned, but in the context of community, I had Hannah and Destin with me. That's where she lived at the time, and a good friend of mine. And then on the way back through Knoxville, stopped by and spent the night at Rachel's house. And I remember talking with her about you as well. And she's like, Amy, one of the things I love most about you, it's a strength of yours. You're so intentional with people. And I know that Rachel's walking with the Lord. And so I trusted her. And she said, how could you keep that thing from a guy that you're interested in? Like, he needs to see that you're intentional. Like, that's one of the best things about how God made you. And it really gave me the courage to, and that's kind of where you experience the fruitfulness of that, right? But just knowing ourselves, being ourselves, guarding our heart, being in relationships with other believers to say, like, hey, is this appropriate to send this text right now? Like, or is that too much? Is that too soon to ask 20 questions? And for the friend to go, no, that's a great way to get to know him. Like, send the text, and just having friends that are cheering us on. And that's one thing that I think just on this episode, I think is significant to share. Like, remember sitting with you and just saying, like, coming back from Israel and saying, hey, could we just hang out at a park? And I got some things I want to share about my story, just continuing to um, just be honest with you and saying, this is the thing I'm most ashamed of in my whole life. This one part of my story, a previous relationship I had had, and just sharing that with you, like, and saying, like, knowing that I needed to know that you would still love me, even knowing my past mistakes. And so I know you didn't expect me to share that right now in the episode, but what was that like for you? Kind of as we're moving through our dating relationship, and and then we're gonna move towards the proposal as well in this episode. But, like, what was it like for you just to get to know me? One, you've talked about the playful way, the fun way, the let's play tennis, let's do these things together that are fun. A lot of sports we did, and getting to know my family, right? Getting to know getting to know your family. But just what was it like for you to hear some of my story and to be able to receive that?
Yeah, well,
Like, how did you know? That's what the woman wants to know. How did you know she was the one? That's one of the biggest questions that comes up.
I think it's the time that we spent together that I just really enjoyed being with you. And I was attracted to you, attracted to your personality, and also physically. And I just really saw that this was going towards a place where I would want to propose to you and
Mm,
get married. So when you shared the difficult stuff from
yeah.
your past, I think I had already made up in my mind I really like this person a lot, and I could see myself marrying her.
Mm,
And so when you shared some hard stuff, um, it was, I was already, um, I was just already like in a friendship with you,
mm,
and I didn't want to just say, "Oh, gosh, I didn't know your past, or I didn't know
mm,
about that." Like, okay, well, let's just get some space, or let's just. Um, no, I was I was in love with you for who you were, and then when you shared some stuff that I didn't know about that was hard for you,
mm,
I didn't want to turn away from you, or like I was really glad that you had shared that with me.
mm. Yeah.
Um, I wanted to be there for you, and and just not just walk away.
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of people that have had stuff they're not proud of, or stuff that's hard that has happened in their lives, um, and so it was difficult to hear at the time,
Mhm.
like me, but I didn't want to end the relationship or get space between us.
Mm,
I wanted to just stay with you,
mm,
and I was really appreciative that you shared that with me when you did, and that you didn't wait until years later, and then oh, by the way, we've been married for 2 years now, but I need to tell you something that happened, that I'm not
mm.
proud of. And
Yeah.
so I thought
Yeah.
it was hard for you, and I could tell it was hard for you
Very.
to
I was
share
afraid you're gonna leave,
what you did.
not because of who you are, but because of the shame about just sometimes we carry shame with us when it comes to decisions we make, especially in relationships. My fear was that you would leave
Mhm.
and walk away, that I wouldn't be valuable enough for you to stay, that it would taint your how you felt about me or how you viewed me or how you saw me. And I'm really grateful for what you said that day. Um, do you remember what you said, or should I say it? Do you want me to say it?
Um, I believe what I said was like, I'm not going
Hmm.
to leave you. I'm not going to walk away from you just because you got some hard stuff in your life. Like,
Totally.
I'm going to fight for our relationship, or
Hmm.
I'm going to stick with you through this.
Yeah. It was huge for me to hear that. Eating Hot Heads burrito at a Shawnee Park in Xenia, Ohio, after a slow pitch softball game that you would come watch me play, the AI softball team. We're sitting there. I share the hardest part of my journey, my story at the time, and you said, I'm not going to leave you. Why would I leave? And I want to fight for this relationship. And you said, Amy, it doesn't define you. That's your past. Like, that's not who you are. And I want to share this. I keep this in my Bible. It's one of my favorite things to pull out every Valentine's Day or Valentine's week, but especially on Valentine's Day. And just really want to encourage those listening, and hang in there. I'm going to read this love letter to you, and then Jason's gonna finish us out by sharing his proposal story, like how he proposed. And so it's gonna get real good, and then we'll close out the episode. And but I want to read this to you, men and women who are listening, because this letter, I don't know if you know this or not, but God has actually written a love letter to you, and that's in the Bible. And so there is something out there called the Father's Love Letter on fathersloveletter.com, and I'll connect this to the show notes. But I want you to check it out and maybe even print off a copy for yourself and put it in your Bible. But when I read this, and I tend to read it every year because it's just so important to hear the way that God the Father sees us and the way he views us. And gratefully, like, Jason's not perfect, right? As my husband, like, nobody's
It's
perfect.
true.
You will not find the perfect man. And you can find the right man for you or the right woman for you if you're a man, but there will not be. We need a lot of forgiveness in our relationship because we're both human. And so, but there is a father out there who has a perfect love for you, and he totally showed you and showed me his love for you that's perfected by the way that he gave his life. Jesus gave his life on the cross. It says that he proved his love for us in that while we were yet sinners, Jesus died for us on the cross. And so um, I'm going to go ahead and read this love letter, Father's love letter to you. It says, My child, you may not know me, but I know everything about you. I know when you sit down and when you rise up. I am familiar with all your ways. Even the very hairs on your head are numbered, for you were made in my image. In me you live and you move and you have your being. For you are my offspring. I knew you even before you were conceived. I chose you when I planned creation. You were not a mistake, for all your days are written in my book. I determined the exact time of your birth and where you would live. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. I knit you together in your mother's womb and brought you forth on the day that you were born. I have been misrepresented by those who don't know me, but I am not distant and angry. I am the complete expression of love, and it's my desire to lavish my love on you, simply because you are my child and I am your father. I offer you more than an earthly father ever could, for I am the perfect father. Every good gift that you receive comes from my hand, for I am your provider and I meet all of your needs. My plan for your future has always been filled with hope, because I love you with an everlasting love. My thoughts towards you are countless as the sand on the seashore, and I rejoice over you with singing. I will never stop doing good to you, for you are my treasured possession. I desire to establish you with all my heart and all my soul, and I want to show you great and marvelous things. If you seek me with all your heart, you will find me. Delight in me, and I will give you the desires of your heart, for it is I who gave you those desires. I am able to do more for you than you could possibly imagine, for I am your greatest encourager. I am also the Father who comforts you in all of your troubles. When you are brokenhearted, I am close to you. As a shepherd carries a lamb, I have carried you close to my heart. One day I will wipe away every tear from your eyes, and I will take away all the pain you've suffered on the earth. For I am your Father, and I love you even as I love my Son Jesus. For in Jesus, my love for you is revealed. He is the exact representation of my being. He came to demonstrate that I am for you, not against you. And I tell you that I am not counting your sins. Jesus died so that you and I could be reconciled. His death was the ultimate expression of my love for you. I gave up everything that I loved that I may gain your love. If you receive the gift of my Son Jesus, you receive me, and nothing will ever separate you from my love again. Come home and I'll throw the biggest party heaven has ever seen. My question is, I'm sorry, I have always been Father and will always be Father. My question is, will you be my child? I'm waiting for you. Woo!
That's good.
Yeah. Wow. I needed to hear that. So there's a lot in there about how God views you and sees you and what he's done for you and what he's done for me. And I really want to encourage, take a look at this letter on your own. Maybe highlight a truth about who God is and how he views you and sees you today on this Valentine's Day, whether you're single, dating, or married, whether you're widowed or divorced, like no matter what stage you're in, all of these things actually are true about you. And if you want to know more about it, like feel free to shoot me a direct message or an Instagram or text. We can chat more, but we're all in process, right? None of us have arrived, but we do have a perfect Father. And so, Jason, I would love for you to take us home.
I feel like
I know that was a lot.
I feel like we should end with that. That was like a mic drop right there.
It was a mic drop.
Jason, go ahead and talk some more now. I'm like, how do I follow that?
That's the best backstory, isn't it? If we're looking for just the best backstory out there, I think each of our stories have a thread of that backstory.
Yeah.
Especially as believers in Christ, like the things that I've seen in our marriage and our relationship and in my own life, even before meeting you, like I've needed that in every season of my life.
Yes.
To know that no matter what I do, like I will never be enough on my own. Jesus is enough. Because of what he's done, like I don't need to try to be enough. We can just be. Like he loves us just for who we are.
Yeah.
So it's just incredible, right? Would you like to share
Sure.
our proposal story?
Yeah.
And sure, your version's a lot shorter than mine. We met June 1st, right? We got engaged November 18th, just to give some context. And then we married on June 10th of 2017. So our kind of meeting, dating, engaged, proposal, like that whole until we got married was about a year. And so you proposed in November. Would you share with just share the story of how you proposed? And I think what would be really fun, but maybe we can have you on another time, maybe closer to our anniversary or in the future, to share a little bit more about our wedding and our marriage. But go ahead.
Okay, well, I knew that I wanted to do life with you. Just from the summer, how the conversations we had, we saw basketball games together, we ate good food together, we played tennis, we went on walks together, we did shopping together. We had some really good dates together, and we hiked together. I just had a lot of fun hanging out with you, and I just kind of knew in my heart, like, this is somebody that I really want to spend the rest of my life with. And we even talked about, like if we were to get married, like what church would we get married at? And so we had that conversation even before I proposed to you. We were kind of just, we saw each other being together. And so I think it was like maybe in September or October, I'm going to say October, that I was just thinking about, like, when should I propose to her? How should I propose to her? It was kind of in the back of my mind. I believe it was in October that I met with your dad. Like we went and spent some time with your family.
Yeah, I think it was an Ohio State Buckeye game.
There was a Buckeye game that day.
Halftime.
Yep.
Go ahead.
And so I was watching the game with your dad, and Ohio State was playing Indiana, I think, and um, we were watching the game, and I was enjoying the game, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, I need to ask Amy's dad at some point today. Like, I
Mm.
want to ask um, for his permission, like if it'd be all right for me to marry his daughter. So I was going to do it before the game started, and that just, the time just didn't feel right to me. And then at halftime, um, I asked him if we could go for a walk together, and we went for a walk. And so I asked him. I just told him I was really interested in you, and I wanted to marry you, and got his permission. And
Hmm.
so that was in October, and so then I'm thinking, okay, so now how am I going to propose? Like, I want to, I just don't know exactly when or how. And so I'm thinking about it, and I thought, well, Amy's favorite number
Hmm.
is 18. And I knew that, like, it was your number in college, for your softball jersey, and you really liked that number a lot. And so I'm like, it'd be so cool if I proposed to her on the 18th. And so I looked at November, and I'm like, 18th is a Friday. Gosh, that works. A Friday night, we could go on a
Weekend.
date, and then I could propose
Hmm.
to her. So it's starting to come together.
Hmm.
And so I'm like, all right, so I've got the day. And so I needed to get a ring for you. So I went to this jewelry store, and I'd already talked with you about, like, 'cause I wanted to pick out the right one. So
Hmm.
we had already done a little bit of ring shopping, which I haven't even I just wanted to know what you liked, and we both know that we're in this serious relationship, and at some point Jason's going to propose. So we went and did some ring shopping, just browsing and stuff, and you told me that you liked rose gold. You told me kind of what size your finger is and all that good stuff. So I went to a jewelry store, and just looked at diamonds, and I picked out a ring, and it had to be specially ordered, because they didn't have it in the shop. And I'm like, okay, well, are we? Are you sure we can? Here's the day that I'm going to propose. Like, can we get it ahead of time? And the guy that I spoke to was really helpful and really nice. He's like, yes, we will get that. It's gonna be kind of close to the date, like maybe a week in advance or
Yeah.
something, a week before the day, but we'll order it and we'll get that to you. And so, like, I got the diamond, that day, but the actual ring was going to take some time for them to be able to get it. So I thought, all right, well, I've got the ring all taken care of.
Hmm.
Um, and so now I'm planning, well, what am I going to do that night? What's the date going to be like? And so I kind of figured out Amy loves games. I got to do like a scavenger hunt and make it something really fun. And so the week before the 18th, like the weekend before the 18th, we actually went to a marriage conference together. That was, I think it was in Dayton. It was, or
Hmm.
Cincinnati. It was close. It was in Dayton. And we went to a marriage conference, and you're wondering if I was going to propose to you, like at a marriage conference. Um, and I didn't. And you're like, oh, you were just thinking that would be the right time, because you knew that I was going to propose to you. You're just like, when is he going to do it?
It's
I can't
totally.
wait. And I didn't do it that weekend at the marriage
Yep.
conference that we went to. But anyways, 1 week later, like, we're getting real close to the 18th, or we're at the 18th. I am in communications with the jewelry store,
Hmm.
and I'm like, hey, I want to go pick up the ring. Is it ready? And they're like, no, it's not ready yet. Um, like, there's been some complications, or we had some miscommunication, but we will have it ready to go by the 18th. And I said, okay, like that's a couple days from now. And so are you, and some, I'm a little bit nervous. The
Yeah.
jewelry store doesn't have the ring yet, but they told me that that they're gonna have it. So then it's the 17th, and I call the jewelry store, and they told me that the ring was not ready. Like I couldn't pick it up yet, um, but they were going to have it ready the next day,
Mm.
and I could like go and pick it up, or they had delivered to me. I don't remember, but they said we will have it for you, and I'm like, okay, because it's the 18th. Like that's the day that I'm gonna propose. That's tomorrow. That's
Yes.
so I still don't have the ring, but I'm like I'm trusting that
And
this is gonna happen.
you did such a good job of not revealing that to me. You're doing all the work behind the scenes. All I know is I wish you had proposed the week before, but that's because I thought I knew the best plan. But you knew the best, God knew the best plan as well. But there was a sense like you didn't reveal any of that hard work to me, or like I didn't know all that was happening. All I knew was you said, Amy, will you go? Do you want to go out on a date on Friday night, the 18th? And we'll get Chipotle and then we'll go back to my apartment and watch a movie. Like that's basically what I knew. And so all of this, like what it took for you don't want to propose without a ring, right? So what it took for you to get to that point is pretty impressive that you kept that to yourself. But bring us into the engagement night and what took place.
That day, I taught school, and right after school was over with, probably the minute school ended, I called the jewelry store place and talked with them, um, and just like found out that the ring was not ready yet. And this
Mm-hmm.
is the 18th. Like this is the day that I had planned to propose to you. And no, I don't want to wait another week because
It's
like
the 18th.
I was the number was important to me. Like
Yeah.
November 18th, Friday, the 18th. Your favorite number is 18. I'm not gonna wait till December 18th. Like, and so I was just a little stressed, frustrated. Like, I can't believe this happened. Like, I felt like I did everything right, a couple weeks in advance. I should have done it a couple months in advance, but I didn't know that I was going to propose a couple months in
Mm-hmm.
advance. So I go to Tanya's house, a friend of Amy's, a friend of yours, and because that was part of the scavenger hunt. We're going to end up at Tanya's house, and there's a neat story behind that. So I get to Tanya's house just to kind of talk with her and make the last minute preparations for the scavenger hunt. And I'm just talking to the person on the phone, like about like what am I gonna do? Like you don't have the ring, but I'm proposing to her tonight. I need that ring.
Mm-hmm.
And so he told me that he would get me he'd take the actual diamond that I'd bought and put it on another ring, and he would drive to where we were at and give me the ring. And I thought, okay, that's gonna have to work. Like I don't know what to do. Like there was some miscommunication that happened where the person who was making the special ring, they weren't ready on time. Like
Mm-hmm.
something had happened, and so anyways, like we get the ring, and it was I had to meet him at this particular place,
Mm-hmm.
and I picked up the ring, and it was like a half an hour before I was supposed to meet you. And then
Yeah.
I drove back to my apartment, and then I met you at the apartment. Um, and we did the scavenger hunt, and I
That
said,
was super fun.
let's do
Yeah.
a scavenger hunt, kind of thing. And I had that all planned out, and so we
Mm.
started doing the scavenger hunt, and then the scavenger hunt took us to
Mm.
Tanya's house. And then when we were at Tanya's house, you kind of were finishing up the
Mm.
scavenger hunt. I went and got dressed real quick. Like I had a duffel bag with me, and I got dressed, suit and tie. came out and proposed to you,
Hmm.
and you said yes, thankfully.
Phew. Let out a sigh of relief, right?
And it was
Yeah.
just, even though it didn't work out perfectly, and I didn't have the ring that, it was,
The forever ring.
it still was just a special
Hmm.
night, and it turned out well, and we ate Pazuki, and we had a friend like Tanya and her husband who taped it on their phones, and
Totally.
it was so cool that they got to be there for
Hmm.
that, because you were in their house you were in Tanya's house when her husband was proposing
Hmm.
to her. So there was
Yeah,
something
that
a
was
little
really special.
there's a little something special about that,
Hmm.
and
Well, Jason, I love your intentionality. Obviously, like you guys have seen the Signs of Hobby Lobby. Like my favorite story is our story, like love story. So I think, yeah, it's totally perfect for us. And I love hearing you share it. It's definitely neat to hear the guy version, as a lot of women get to hear the girl version, which is more colorful a lot of times. But you did a great job sharing our story. And one thing I'm super, even though you said what was significant to you for me was my intentionality early in our marriage, or in our, I'm sorry, in our dating relationship. One thing I appreciate about you is that God has wired you in a way that you are very observant and aware of details, and you notice things about me that you like. And those are the things that you implemented into the proposal, right? You're like, what would be perfect for Amy? What would she enjoy? What would be memorable for her? And it's definitely memorable. And I did say yes, and I would say yes again and again and again. I love my husband. And so, Jason, thanks for joining us on this podcast episode. Can you guys just say thank you? If you find him on Instagram, send Jason not a direct message, but post on his Instagram and say, hey, thanks for being on the Priceless Backstories podcast. And yeah, you guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode today. Much love to you. Stay priceless and enjoy your Valentine's week knowing that you are loved by the Lord. Have a great week.